Good day, students. I'm not going to wait any longer. The late stragglers will take up the lecture. I'd like to welcome His Excellency Professor Ian Hall, who is the Ambassador at Large for the United Nations World Association of Non-Governmental Organizations. He's also President of the Bloomsbury International Society. His Excellency has many good things behind his name, too many to mention today, so I'm just going to try to be very brief. He will be back here with us during our Black History Month in February. We will be having a big grand event. His Excellency created history early in his life by becoming the first black person to take an honors degree in music at the University of Oxford. His career at the university was a model of versatility as he distinguished himself as an organist, singer, conductor, and composer, as well as a performer on the alto saxophone in the university's jazz combos. He remains to date the only black person to have represented the University of Oxford in athletics, cricket, and soccer. Moreover, his early literary endeavors for student publications have blossomed into poetry and into serious seminal articles for national and international publications. He has a very diverse career. He was invited by President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana to become the youngest ever director of music of the famous Achimota College, where he also taught President Jerry Rawlings of Ghana, and a lecturer in the history of European music at the University of Ghana. He returned to England to become organist and director of music at the University of London Church. Influenced by his recent exposure to traditional African music, he fashioned an original approach to liturgical music, fusing European and African traditions to create an innovative and inspirational style unique to himself. And I would like to tell you a lot more about him, but we need to get on with the music because we only have 1 hour. I'd like to say that His Excellency was also, he's the president of the Bloomsbury Society, which was instituted in the University of London in 1970. And this was to assist laborers of the United Nations through the arts and culture. This provides the most apt prelude to his appointment in 2000 as Ambassador at Large for the UN World Association of Non-Governmental Organizations, supported by an independent secretariat in collaboration with Secretary-General Dr. Endau, a distinguished servant of the UN. Professor Hall aims to create wide-ranging opportunities for the development of programs and ideas for social transformation. Recently, he celebrated the UN International Day of Tolerance by leading a socio-political seminar for selected doctoral students and professorial colleagues of Philadelphia's Temple University. For 2002, he was commissioned to compose a new piece dedicated to the UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan. And he has numerous engagements that he has participated in, and most recently, Ambassador Hall attended a celebration of the Bloomsbury Association, which marks the 56th session of the UN General Assembly to honor His Excellency, the UN Secretary-General, in this UN Year of Dialogue Among Civilizations. And the theme was, Hell is one people, so is heaven, at the Church of the Holy Family on Thursday past. And again on Friday night, he participated in a major event at Hofstra University in Long Island. Without any more accolades, I'll leave those for February because they're no long and numerous. I present to you His Excellency Professor Ian Hall.
Thank you, Professor Thomas, for that very generous introduction. And first of all, may I say how delighted I am to be here. I know most people say they're delighted, and some of them actually mean it. I certainly do, because I'd heard of Medgar Evers as far back as the 80s, really. But certainly in 1992, 10 years ago almost, I'd been down. Professor Thomas told me that I spent quite a bit of time there in my salary days with Kwame Nkrumah, President Nkrumah, and one of my students I taught at Achimota, she mentioned, was Jerry Rawlings, who was, became President of Ghana until very recently, for a very long time. I knew him as a boy growing up, and his wife, and half the Ghanaian cabinet. And it was with great pleasure that I accepted an invitation from them to go to Ghana in '92 to, I hadn't heard of him a number of years really, literally, and then this, by the High Commissioner or the Ambassador, this invitation turned up, and it was because Nkrumah was going to be re-interned. Kwame Nkrumah had been thrown out, shocking people doing such a silly thing. And after many years, it fetched his body back in big mausoleum. I expect some of you have been to see. I think you have. But one of the people I met on that occasion, and the object of the story, was Betty Shabazz. We stayed in the same hotel, and of course had a lot to do with each other for a week or so. And she said to me, "Well, you've got to come and spend some time with us in New York and so on." So of course I will. Of course, nothing ever happened. She's now dead anyway, and so on. But God moves in a mysterious way, and through largely through Professor Thomas. I actually came in February during your Black History Month to the UN, and came as a guest at one of the events. And that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, which has led me here today. And I hope we follow this up by having you participate in events at the UN. Who knows? And certainly next Black History Month, we hope to do a fuller thing with music and so on. Now, we start off with Africa. I have an odd history. I was actually born in South America, in the jungles of South America, in British Guiana, it was, in 1940, the 18th of January 1940. And I had my first siesta. Happily so, I must say. I'd been a different man if I didn't have the beginning. My father, who was quite a distinguished war hero, became one of the first black people to be in the Royal Air Force in Britain. And then after the war, in 1945-46, he worked for Winston Churchill, British government, and repatriating black people, whether from Africa or the West Indies, and those who were quite clever and passed sufficient exams got grants to study something or the other. So while he's giving out grants to others, he gave himself one to study dentistry. So he became a London dentist from coronation year 1953, and I was sent for. My mother died by then. My mother died by 6, grandmother and the others. So I then became an Englishman after my first 12 years as a Guyanese, going to an entirely all-white school. And I was a great success there, and very popular, because I had all these wonderful stories about Lord Kitchener, Steel Band and stuff. And lads loved it. Of course, I had to make up some of the stories to amuse them, really. Total nonsense I used to talk most of the time. And I expect they knew it was nonsense, but they loved it, really. Very entertaining stuff. But seriously though, I then took up music from scratch when I was 14, which was very late. People to my level, professors of music normally start in the cradle sort of thing, really. I was good at it, I suppose, really, very good. And taught myself initially the piano during the summer holidays of 1954, because the music master gave me a bad report. He said, still a playboy, no serious effort. And my father, who was a very strict man, gave me a good hiding, bang, I never forget that. 60 odd years ago, such a hiding I got. And the summer holidays were cancelled, and I was made to learn the piano. They bought a piano. While they all went on holiday, I stayed home. Fortunately, I was in the local church choir in London, and I had a friend who was a keen violinist. He'd been doing violin school. So he taught me what was A and B and C on the piano and so on. I bought a tutor, and during August of 1954, I taught myself the instrument. When I went back to school in September, the music master would give me the bad report. Heard me playing some elementary fugues of Bach and that sort of thing. I thought he'd seen the Ghostful Banquet. Oh, you learned to do that. And then he took me on to his way. Lovely man, he's still alive actually, living in retirement in Eastbourne in England. And he did a very magnificent thing. Every morning in school, the organ was going with hymns and so forth. And beforehand, as the boys came into assembly, it's a small school, it was only 420, I think it was. Archbishop Tennyson's grammar school. It was a good school. It's a bit of a dump nowadays. It's coming up again, but it was founded in 1685 in the crypt of St. Martin in the Fields, which some of you may know is founded square. And music was a big thing there. A choir, of course I belonged to everything. I was into everything. Soccer and cricket and he said to me, I'm looking for a young assistant, he said. Now, if you improve yourself, you can help me by playing an assembly. I mean, it doesn't seem to do anything, but it's a big thing. A boy from school on stage with all the masters, playing fugue and so on. And that was my life from 54 to 59 until I left school as his assistant. And that gave me a great opportunity. And he did another wonderful thing. Instead of, holding me back like a racehorse to the nail post, he didn't tell me. The things I heard him play, Bach's Scat and Fugue in D minor, I thought everybody could play that, and started practicing it myself. Now, what he should have, who didn't play that? That's too hard, and wait till next year or the year after. He just let me go ahead, really. So I didn't really know how good I was. So I had no one to compare myself with. I was his only pupil, really. And I ended up by passing all the exams for organ playing at school, getting a degree in organ playing before I was still a schoolboy, and became the first black person to read music at Oxford. I mean, it was quite a thing, really, looking back. Of course, music is a very exclusive thing still to this day at Oxford and Cambridge. And most people studying it were from sort of bourgeoisie homes. They've been probably cathedral choir boys and that sort of business, really. They've been doing it since they're 4 or 5. So competing with them and winning was quite remarkable. Anyway, that's a bit of background. I'll stop there with biography and just tell you about why I'm here, really, which is very important. To proselytize, to advance knowledge of black people in general. I'm a sort of American, really. My grandmother, children, which my mother was one, another daughter of hers, my Auntie Mura, actually lived in Brooklyn since 1947. She's 183 Fenimore Street, Brooklyn. And my father's side, that's my mother and father's side, my father's mother and father, i.e. my grandparents, buried in New York, really. So I do know the scene of it. And one thing I do know is that there's tremendous ignorance about Africa, really. I mean, we all love to be Africans. I see people dressing up with kente cloth and that sort of business. Lovely, there are problems with all of that. But deeper knowledge is required, because sooner or later you have to defend yourself in a world which is full of sarcasm and ignorance and that. So I like to get over to everybody, but especially black people, what black music really means and how it's formed. I remember the first time I came to America was in 1972 with the University of London choir, of which I was a conductor and so on. We did Yale University and Trinity Hartford and all around the place, Baltimore, where Yvonne comes from, she tells me, and so on. And one day we went to Staten Island College, community college, and there was a set of black people, half naked, of course. This is a prerequisite to being African. You remove your clothes. Total nonsense, of course. And dancing about and making a hell of a racket. without any sort of design or history. You know, it was really an embarrassment to me, like being to Africa and so on. I didn't say anything, of course. I kept quiet and kept smiling, being charming to everybody. But I felt how absolutely awful. This is what black people thinking that this music should be. You know, I mean, it was worse than racist whites thinking what black music should be. Really. It was almost sort of sending ourselves up like caricatures. So I'd like you to listen to some really original music. This is a very recent CD. In fact, so recent that it came out last month. And a group is called Achimota. I use some. Wonderful. I just played actually for the sheer effect, the sheer exuberance of that the track. Achimota announcing themselves. We started when I came back from Ghana, which is '66, and my son was. I went there. My first time Ghana. Son was born there, and they had a wonderful ceremony of outdooring. After 7 days, you know, the babies come home from the hospital, and as all of us, we know about little babies, they cry and have to attend to them all the time, keep you up most of the night. And I just getting some sleep eventually on the 7th day, went early in the morning, what they say, Ghana, 4 days in the morning before dawn, or even before dawn, it's still black. As in the tropics, it goes from black to, for out of darkness we have light. It's wonderful, really. In fact, the village, Achimota school, is like, oh, I don't know, it's bigger than Medgar Evers. It's a whole village, really. Like, you know, in England, a lot of posh schools, Eton, which I should be doing when I go back, Eton College is not just a college. it's a village. The village is called Eton, really. So everybody who, most people who live in Eton serve the college. Really. Like same with Achimota. They had a whole village of people quite normally, who were workers looking after the students, cooking the food, doing the grounds. It's a very posh school, actually. It's gone down like all these things, gone down a bit, really. It used to be called, funny enough, the Eton of Africa, Achimota. And Jerry Rawlings came to just learn how our relationship started up. Was a bit of a naughty boy, really, very idle and so on. So many boys are at school. And on Saturdays, when they're supposed to be tidying up the boarding house and doing, making sure everything's running smoothly, he used to escape by coming to be with me all day. The music master, you go and stay with, in order to, as you told the headmaster, to make himself useful. Actually, he was useful because he's quite good at cars and all that sort of business fixing. And I hopeless, so we made a good pair. I used to look after all that. So that was Achimota. And this anomaly village was full of these workers. And on the 7th day, the outdooring, about 5 in the morning, I could hear these drums coming from the village. And they got nearer and nearer towards the house, and nearer and nearer. And when they got to our house, they threw open the door and came in. And I said, my God, what are they up to? Up they come into the bedroom in solemn procession, and took the baby out of the cot, straight downstairs to mother, took all the clothes off, and on the ground lay the baby. And before anything else, they did a libation, Jai Jai Tobase, or Braibona, and they said a prayer and so on. And then after, for the rest of the day and night, a wonderful celebration of drumming and dancing would ensue. And one of the dances they would play, on this only day on that occasion, is called Panogo, K-P-A-N-L-O-G-O, Panogo, which is the dance of the people in Accra. The Ga people here. But Africa is very tribal, you know that anyway. The Shantis are very powerful people for music and dance. Ga, Fantis. You find Fanti people in Ghana, brown skin, and often got European blonde anyway, because European trade has been going there for a long time, since the 14th century or before. And they have these wonderful dances, Adwa, which is a beautiful dance. The wife of J. Rawlings actually was a very fine non-Ajuman dancer. Well, most of these kids, they're not kids now, grandparents, but most people I talk about, they all dance. Dance was an indigenous part of the culture, and drumming and these things. In fact, I learned, although I was then a first class honours from Oxford, I was in Ghana, I learned more about music from my students than I did from the books at Oxford University. From their natural approach, their way of doing things. And if you listen to this as Pedro will play for you, Panogo music, you find how propulsive and catchy and exuberant is the rhythm. So, a session, please, Carol, with a bit of volume. Nice. But I'm an ambassador today, so I have to restrict myself. Wonderful music. And we can go all night with this. From the time they come to the house in the morning, look at them, 6 o'clock in the evening, 12 o'clock, 3 next morning, and when you go to Ghana, early in the morning, if you take a drive along the sea, you will see the fishermen have just come back, they got people moving in Accra. They do not want life, but they're rejoicing in the ease of the life. They won't eat them by a whale or anything. So they fry some fish and drink some palm wine. Wonderful music. The group in London, we came in 1995 to New York to do, I had the honour of doing the music for the 50th anniversary of the UN at the Cathedral of St. John of the Vine. And we brought some boys from London, of which the leader here, Obakawa, was one, and we joined up with some other New York Africans, Ghanaians. It was wonderful, really. A celebration which I never forget. Now, it's all very well in a way, we're all now highly sophisticated, we live in 2001. As I said earlier, by implication, we too often black and anxious. I'm actually thinking in Africa, I'm not enough and so on. There are many friends, and I'm actually accredited professor of music at all 5 universities in Ghana, plus the one in Freetown, Sierra Leone, plus UNILAG, plus Ibadan, and so on. So I'm just telling you, I'm not to show off or to show you how important I am, because we all is important each other, no one's more important than anybody. But just to tell you, I'm friendly with. Like, I can never be an African in Toto. I mean, my friends know that, because they could be Guyanese or American or anything like that, but let's do it. They can't feel the vibrations of this place, or their frame of references. I mean, you can be sympathetic to a place, but not. Sometimes the African American, I don't know what does that really mean, total nonsense. Of course, I mean, even they're American, you're not American. The African American. I suppose it's valuable if you could go around and say, I'm Polish American, this American, or whatever. Or Eskimo American. And then the thing becomes quite absurd. You're just American. I'm Ian Hall, Guyanese, I suppose. I have to say that now, as I'm ambassador last of Guyana, so I've got to take that a bit seriously. But again, it's slightly phony, because I haven't lived in Guyana, I've explained to the president, since I was 12, so they quite asked me to represent you. We said, oh, it'll be all right, made up about us and so on. We'll give you some background information, don't worry. So that's, to some extent, ethnicity and your relation to a place is good, but it needs watching. And I've watched it musically in the following way. On that same CD, 2 of the tracks, they're mostly original Ghanaian, or traditional, not original, traditional Ghanaian music. But Felix, whose LP really is, or whose CD really is, said, now, can you distinguish it by including a couple of tracks of yours? The sort of music you've been writing for a long time anyway. And 2 of the tracks, one which I play for you now, I'll tell you, you've got that one, that's the number 6. It's called Fanfare for Queen and Commonwealth. In 1973, the Master of the Queen, I've had quite a cordial relationship with the royal family for a long time really, largely with the Queen Mother, who's partly appointed me as the organist of the University in '66. Not just yet. What happened was that we have a Commonwealth Day every year in March, held at Westminster Abbey, and all the countries of the Commonwealth, of which America used to be part, actually. Anyway, you know that anyway, before the War of Independence. But it was still British. You were part of the British Commonwealth. Those of us who remained in the scene, we all, whether it's Canadian, or Australian, or Guyanese, or Trinidadian, or whatever, once a year, we all meet up, the second Monday in March. And originally, it was in June. And in 1973, a very nice Dean of Westminster Abbey, who was a great friend of mine, he actually was my moral tutor at Oxford, that's why we're friendly, And he said to me, now, why don't you compose some music which embraces the African and the European? So I conceived a fanfare for Queen and Commonwealth, obviously, in which these Ashanti drummers are playing, and with the Baroque brass on the pinning, using that same rhythm that you just heard, the Paloga rhythm. I love that rhythm, as you can tell from my jumping around. I always use it. I use other rhythms, but Paloga is good. So if Octavia happens, you hear how the brass is added, the Baroque brass group, to the African to make something which I think is entirely satisfactory. Please, Octavia. And you said just before a dignity, you have to imagine Westminster Abbey. Remember Princess Diceford and that long eye, they're coming down there. You can imagine how it blew their minds in 1973. We've had some more mind-blowing experiences since then, but that always remains a valuable one, and that's why we included it on the CD. I've kept this up all these years. That was 73, as I said. Last year, 2000, all the Commonwealth heads of state, the president or prime minister, or whatever they're called, came to London. They had a Caribbean forum. And on number 11, not just that October in a minute, very nice, in 1970 there are hardly any black people, in fact there are no black people who are in government of any description really. Now there are one or two more, including a very charming, a lovely, beautiful black girl, well, young woman, who's a minister in the Foreign Office. Baroness Scotland, she's also in the House of Lords. Wonderful person really. And she said to me, now, Ian, for this conference, this what was it called, Caribbean Millennium Forum, why didn't you know your usual thing of combining this sort of stuff, why don't you do something with the brass again and also with these drums to start this Caribbean Forum? Tony Blair and all the others, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs, her boss, if you like, the main one, Robin Cook, he's been moved since then, but he said, when he heard this competition, I have never heard anything as remarkable, introducing any conference whatsoever. Shall we have this at every subsequent Caribbean Millennium thing? Next year in Guyana. What they're going to do is go around the Commonwealth, have it in different countries over 2 years. So, with any luck, this will now be made immortal. And you hear it, thanks Octavia, the Caribbean Millennium Fanfare. Slightly longer than the one I wrote in 73. This is the 2000 version. Track 11. sounds so wonderful, really, because everyone's expecting to carry on. Marvelous, really. So, which did you prefer, the 1973 Ian Hall or the more recent one?
I like that.
The more recent, yeah. It's slightly brighter, it's more extrovert. Well, there's one where in which we have tried, I think with some success, to combine African and European. The other ways, I'm really a choral man. I used to sing as a boy, St. Paul's, well, as a young man, St. Paul's Cathedral and all that. So the Anglican repertoire is very much, and I'm into an Anglican college at Oxford. So church music is my scene, really, to be quite blunt about it. And when I was appointed years ago, 1966, as the organist and director of music at the University of London, it's rather amusing to think of that. The youngest ever University of London organist director. But not only that, I didn't even took up the thing 10 years ago before that or something. It seems almost extraordinary. And they used to have, I'll just use the piano for a minute, thank you, Octava. All of this lovely hymns. Thou was almighty God, chaos and darkness heard. Do you know that one? And took their flight. There as we humbly bid, and when the gospel they shows all the glorious ray, let there be light. It's acceptable. So the piano is a bit dicky, some of the notes are missing. As soon as I played better piano. Not to worry. One must never blame his tooth. Carry on and get on with the job. And so in 1974, I think it was, the BBC, which is now that you have CNN and all these sort of lovely things. So you may not know the BBC is a British Broadcasting Corporation. Asked me to, if for Easter Sunday, they wanted to do. I started television 2 years before that. I was the first back to do a major series in the UK. Church music, surprise. Could you hot up? I mean, it's really nice words. Let there be light. Thou whose almighty world, chaos and darkness held. There's some lovely words, but let there be light. You know, that was what they really wanted brought out a bit. There's been some light and so forth. And so I set it for a combo, Afro-Cuban type of thing, really. I haven't got all the instruments there, so you have to imagine it. I just do the piano. And instead of remember, thou who's almighty one, etc., etc. Now. Not to worry, you've got to give it right there. And I've done lots of music, including stuff that we did first of all in 1972 at St. John's of Divine. Remember I said I'd done the music for the 50th anniversary of the UN in 95 at St. John's of Divine? Well, years before that, in 72, when we came with all the youngsters to celebrate Martin Luther King. I've always been a King fan. I actually heard him in St. Paul's Cathedral. He's quite a friend of one of the canons there, also now dead, Canon Collins. I think it was 65 or 6 he came, and he's great, really. Rather like Al Sharpton, I think he's rather a lively individual as well. Last February, when I was here during Black History Month, I found myself as a guest of honour at Hofstra for the big evening for Black and Hispanic. As Van Rep, Professor Thomas, so I just spent a day with them on Saturday. They had a wonderful conference. And largely result of my performance, I think, in February, they invited me to this last thing here. And I remember Al Sharpton saying, I'd seen him before, I mean, I know him as of old, because he has been in London on a few occasions. I first met him in London in fact. And he said, man, the best of us has got to have the rest of us. Not exactly Shakespearean poetry, but it does a trick. It does a trick. And I like that very much. So we've come with this new music, right? New music. It's not all right new now, but different. And I wrote a mass in 72 called a Bloomsbury Mass. Bloomsbury is essentially, sorry to be full of instruction, I'm now a natural school master, I always like telling people things. Bloomsbury is a part of London where the University of London is. But it's best known, those of you who do literature, because of Virginia Woolf, who used to live in Bloomsbury, opposite where the church is. And they started early this century, early last year, they got in the new century now, the Bloomsbury set, very posh group of people. I liked them very much, they were clever and wrote some good things, particularly Virginia Woolf. But they all sort of, either sort of homosexual or some sort of particularly good of it. So what they put up with one hand, they're really putting down there. Anyway, that's another story. But that's the Bloomsbury set. The music that I've been composing using African rhythms and so on is not exclusively African. If those of us who have got some Caribbean blood in us will recognize many Caribbean traits there. The Calypso. Ay, 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 mamito, girl, I must let you know. Ay, 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 mamito, girl, I must let you know. I want to come back home, Africa, girl, I tired from Africa. I want to come back home, Africa, girl, I tired from Africa. Listen to this. Tell Dr. Nkrumah that this is the Lord Kitchener. We send our love to Africa. Me and Roy Ankara. I want to come back home, Africa. Yeah. Join me. I want to come back home, Africa. Yes, I tired from Africa. And I want to come back home, Africa. Yes, I tired from Africa. You like it? You're frankly shy, you lot. I think Americans are supposed to be full of pizzazz and not at all bashful. Isn't that less bashful set of Americans I've been saying? Extraordinary. Wait till I get back to London. Tell Prince Charles what happened. It's only he said. That's surprising. I thought these Yanks were something else. Essentially, I make you laugh by there's a great deal of, just to digress for a moment, misapprehension about the American, what the American is, and so on and so forth. Because my father told me that during the war, when America joined the effort, the war effort, the Brits didn't like it at all. A lot of the British men were away at war and that sort of stuff, and all their ladies left behind, and you can guess what was happening next. So there's a lot of friction and tension and so forth. And the BBC sent a reporter around Fanfare to interview very Richmond Brits, hoping to get some good PR. And they interviewed a Devon farmer, miles away from London. He didn't know what America was, but he just seen some of these soldiers around the place. And this interview was sent to the farmer. Now, sir, what do you think about the Americans? And he said, oh, the Americans. Oh, I like the Americans, except for those awful white people they brought with them. In other words, he thought that the blacks were the rare Americans, and the white people came there for the bear, for the riot. I hope you didn't mind it, boy. I think it was rather good with really. I liked the record. They had the awful, shocking white people they brought with them. Anyway, back to music. I sang you recognise that, I'm sure. Lord Kitchener, who died last year. Well, it was the year before, I think, really. And one Saturday night, with the editor, going to the editor of something New York Beacon, Mr. Smith, somewhere here in Brooklyn, actually, and later that evening, something was going to be held in memory of Lord. I was dead here and there, but I didn't go, sadly. Why? Sadly, because I think he is one of the greatest composers and wordsmiths in the whole world. Really. And in fact, even though there have been some very good boys since then, like the Mighty Sparrow and so on, and Lord Melody, and all those lads, he reminds me one of the most wonderful architects of this Calypso music. Now, I get a bit ahead of myself. Before I get on to talking about the Caribbean input, after all, what was the title of the thing, Professor Thomas? African and Caribbean.
Yes.
So, the Caribbean part I'm going to deal with. But first of all, listen to this. This is a French recording. Papier-mâché, just track one. You know that?
Yeah, miss.
And you just give you a flavour and to let you relax a bit. Don't start
You seem, some of you, a bit surprised that I can dance. I remember in the same meeting that we had with Al Sharpton and the Austria thing, in his very lovely and entertaining speech, he said one day, he said, man, I had to tell Michael Jackson that he's not the first nigger who could dance. He's not the first nigger who could dance. And it's perfectly true. I don't know about niggers fully able to dance. And this record of the Caribbean illustrates the fusion. Well, we've got this wonderful rich African culture, haven't we? I talked about that, and not at great length. I only said about the drums and pan-organ music. I've learned over the years, one a good lecturer I am, I know I'm quite good, but one where I'm very bad, I do too much. I give out too much material, so the hair is a bit confused. So forgive me if I'm just going to concentrate on a few things now. So you've had the pan logo from Africa, and the base of it. Now we cross the seas through slavery and so on and so forth, and dispersed to Suriname and to Guyana and to Trinidad and so on. Trinity, for some reason, I haven't quite worked out why. I thought it marvellous with this sort of thing. Naturally, the Jamaicans, I talk about that presently too. They're quite good, I suppose. But the Trinis have a way of doing music which is numinous, something atavistic, primitive and yet very exalted, really. And that comes out in the Calypso.
Yes.
And also, if I may say so, if I may say, no, I'm not being chauvinistic, I'm neutral, I'm not a Trini, I'm a friend of everybody. But the thing is, I have observed, 1970, when I was still very young, 1970, I had the honour really of being asked to be on a cruise in the Caribbean over the Christmas holidays from Britain for the youngsters, 6 forwards, i.e. people of 16 or 17 years old. 600 of them were cruising for 5 weeks to Martinique and Guadeloupe and all over the place, Barbados, Trinidad. New Year's Day in Trinidad and Tobago was worth experiencing. And then Bermuda as well, which is a bit sort of, well, it's great, it's okay. But not as authentic as other parts of the Caribbean in terms of music. And I remember being on the ship. There's a wonderful old boy who had been British ambassador in Cuba, very learned, of course, Sir Herbert Marchant, long dead, of course. And the Trinidad experience on New Year's Day was so fantastic. All those kids went wild, they couldn't cool down. It was amazing, really. They're getting up to all sorts of tricks. I shan't go into details here. But it was so wonderful, we nearly missed the tide and came back to the boat where the government had sent a wonderful steel band on the side of the wharf to entertain us with music, chairs as the boat was leaving. But they gave us a good solid hour of music. And the Saxophone steel Dixieland was playing remarkably well. And Sir Herbert Marchant looked over, two of us were looking down, looking over to the wharf, and he said, my God, he said, these lads are so good, they're playing very well. But where's the conductor? I didn't see anybody conducting them. And I said, well, they're conducted internally. You know, it's intrinsic. All that needs to happen is somebody gives the big king, and where they go there. They don't have to have someone jumping about in front of you, because they have this intrinsic response to rhythm. I'm so sad we haven't got longer. I'm halfway through my reciting, but I can't leave this place without doing 2 things. One, I was playing just a snippet of Mighty Sparrow for you, because he is one of my great heroes too, who I have pleasure of knowing him quite well. His 60th birthday, he stayed with us in London, and I shall never forget it. One Heart, wonderful, One Heart, One Love, I'm going to play for you, who's had some marvellous passages. When you ready, he did one about the Crown Heights I got at home in London. Crown Heights gang. You had the famous incident. Yeah, wonderful. They're very popular at Eton, where I lecture every now and then, with a predominantly, totally white audience. Crown Heights business. It's what you call political satire. Change the PNM, it's the name of the political party. And these, I mean, Michael Jackson and all these lads, Madonna, to concentrate almost exclusively on love and sex and so on and so forth, which is utterly tedious to another audience. Maybe all know about sex, I mean, there's a limit to what we can do singing like that. So these are the artists, and there are two artists, sing about all manner of subjects, including political satire, including education, daily events and so on. And this one he's singing, what we need is one heart, one love, ignoring political differences and so forth. It's a most marvelous concept. And it applies to the American situation. Last year when I was here, exactly at the same time, it was all about Bush and the other one, I can't remember his name now, Gore, I think, really. And people far too predictable in their response, really. There is an overall view. And the Calypsonian has traditionally been able to bring in this atmosphere of togetherness and of a rich humanity. I didn't mean Kitchener and Sparrow, they're comparatively recent. There's some marvellous chaps, beginning of the last century, Atterley the Hunt, colourful names, Tiger, all these people. Sometimes they only have one hit in all their lives, but the hit is worth having, because it's fantastic. And in this Calypso, Sparrow reaches his zenith perhaps, because he includes